Let's go and have a look at some clips last night from the working group. The working group had Duncan Garner and had Willie Jackson and, of course, Damian Grant and Bomber there as well. We're going to watch a conversation, which is, this is this really interesting thing that the right are doing at the moment. When people are saying that Seymour is lying because he's trying to change the treaty, and the opponents of the left, I guess the right, are going, what's he lying about? How's he trying to change the treaty? And they're playing dumb. Like, Chewy, if I told you that the word wet, we're gonna change the meaning of the word wet, it now means dry, saying that my towel is wet would then have a different meaning, because it would mean it's dry, as we understand it today. So when you change the definitions of words, and when you change how words are understood, that in part changes how you read the treaty. I was thinking today, you know the word windy and windy, how it's spelt the same? I'm on a windy road. I'm on a windy road. It can mean the same thing, can mean different things, exactly the same word. And that's why it's so important to have language experts in this. It depends how you understand that word, the context around that word. And Seymour doesn't have any of those people. He's still talking about the Māori elite and the experts and that kind of stuff in a bad way, the experts in a bad way. So they're going to get into this, and Willie Jackson's going to talk about when he was in the House this week and got booted for calling him a liar.
It should be a place to protest, and I have no regrets out of, in terms of calling Seymour a liar, because he's a liar. But I was passing that message on from the headquarters. He's lying because he keeps saying, I don't want to touch the treaty. Yes, he does want to touch the treaty. That's what the 40 legal people. Look, these are the top legal minds in the country, guys. They're saying, yes, you do. You want to actually touch Article 2, that you want to actually change the treaty. These are no fools, you've got them, you've got the Waitangi Tribunal, but if you don't rate the Waitangi Tribunal, do you rate the government's own lawyers? Because they're saying, yes, you do. And so he's lying in terms of what he's trying to say. He's trying to say, it's going to be all hunky-dory. And he wins people like Damian over because he's all nice and reasonable. Well, I'm not nice and reasonable.
So,
I just call a spade a spade. And this guy has ignored all these former Nats, all the former judges. It's like Trump. He knows more than everything.
Yep.
And then he tells lies. It's lie after lie after lie.
Mr. Jackson,
and all of a sudden Damian Grant says, that's really reasonable. No, it's not reasonable.
And this is where Damian Grant's going to come in and try and nail Willie down as to what is the lie. But see, what happens is he'll try and nail him down as to what is the lie. And then when he gets given the answer, he won't accept the answer. So it becomes a very cyclical conversation that goes nowhere.
And people are getting angry. And that's why you got that haka in the House. And I was really proud of our crew who did the haka,
What is the lie that David Seymour is saying? Because
I just told you the lie. The lie is
you are saying.
Just listen to me, and I'll tell you what the lie is. The lie is that he's not trying to change the treaty. He is.
The treaty
is
principles.
That a lie?
Well, you are making an assertion that you understand. You have a window into David Seymour's soul. We have what David Seymour has said. We have the words in the legislation itself. We have
and the words in the legislation change the definition of what the treaty is. So this defence that these guys have. It's like no words are going to be changed in the treaty. So they're not changing it. Not one word, they say, not one word of the treaty will be touched. But what you're telling us to do is now this word in the treaty that's not going to be touched now means something different. So you're changing the treaty.
ACT Party policy. If we take all of those at face value, he does not want to change the treaty. His legislation doesn't change the treaty. And if you're going to say that David Seymour...
You don't know more than the King's councillors. You don't know more than the top lawyers in this country. They're all saying he's changing the treaty.
The issue is, you are saying that David Seymour says that he wants to change the treaty. There is no evidence that he wants to do that.
But the effect of it does change the treaty. He wants to define the interpretation. He wants to define the principles. He wants to define the principles.
That is simply not true.
The treaty.
He wants to change.
You're a top lawyer.
He wants to change the definition of the principles of
he wants
the
to define
treaty.
them properly.
Which defines the treaty. That's
No,
right.
it does not.
There you go. And they go on, sure. So this is this talking point that not one word in the treaty will be changed. Sure, fine, I accept that. But if you're now telling us that the word wet means dry, that means that sentence reads differently. The word might still be there, but if you've changed the definition of that word, it now reads differently. So you've changed the treaty. Chewy.
So first of all, what makes Damian Grant a legal expert? He's not a lawyer, but he's been around them a couple of times. They weren't very good.
Yeah, a couple. Didn't go very well for him.
And yeah, this fig leaf, and remember, I mentioned this right at the start, that they were going to rely on the fact that they're changing the principles of the treaty and not the treaty themselves, and people were going to fall into the trap of saying he's trying to change the treaty, and he'll go, no, I'm not. I just want the principles to be better understood. If you're using the principles to interpret the document, then you don't have to change the document, because everyone will refer to it in a different way.
Yeah.
You're not changing the treaty, you're just changing how people interpret it. It's the same thing. It's a fucking fig leaf. It is a debating trick.
Well, yeah, and I think the point you just made clear here says he's a bit thick, that Damian. I don't think he is. I think they know. And I think they've figured out, these opponents to the treaty, they've figured out, they think that this is their way in. No, there's not one part of that, there's not a single word in that treaty being changed. There is no evidence he's changing the treaty. So the response is he changing how the treaty is interpreted? They'd probably say no, but the answer is yes.
It's going to be used.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it, as far as Willie calling David Seymour a liar, and Damian going, where is he lying? Show me on the dole where he's lying. He is lying with something that he keeps repeating, that the treaty is an agreement between two races.
Yeah, good man.
He knows that that's not true. He absolutely knows it's not true. By every definition, it is between iwi and hapu and the crown. That's the agreement. That's who signed it. Not the entire white race, not even the Māori race, just individual iwis and hapu. So he keeps repeating that lie. Then Willie Jackson is correct. David Seymour is a liar. Cool, we're done.
We were doing a live stream yesterday, and Spiderhoof was on with us, and Spiderhoof said something that made us all go, and then Spiderhoof went, why have I never thought of that before? You know how Seymour and his ilk go on about, people having a certain privilege or a certain a position in society based on their DNA, based on who their parents were. Spiderhoof went, you mean like the crown? And we were like,
oh, yes, chosen by God, don't you know?
But this agreement was made between the owners of the land, the occupiers of the land, and a group of people who had their privilege based on their birthright. Exactly everything that David Seymour is speaking against. So actually, if you want to go down that path, both sides have certain inalienable rights, perhaps, or rights based on who their mother and father were. But the point that I also thought through the weekend, Chewy, or through the week, is that so do we all. If my father passes away, I have a right to the legal contract that he signed with his lawyer that you don't have, Chewy. I have a right based on my birthright.
Open that up to a public referendum.
And based on who my father was, that you don't have. So this big scary thing that they're saying all the time, when you break it down to what it is, yes, forget based on their ethnicity. Based on who owned that square meter of land, yes, based on the contract that was written about that square meter of land, they have a right, or they have an advantage based around that agreement, just like I do, that my neighbour doesn't, based around my agreement with the bank. It's not such a scary thing, but he's able to dog whistle and bring up race and racial issues and equality, not equity, and equality of outcomes, and get some people. God, you should have seen my Twitter feed today. I could not believe my Twitter feed today. Like, I put out something that we did last night on my Twitter feed, and it was the one about how which one was it? It went ballistic, and some of the comments in there were the most, I don't have to read the comments, but like the F word when it comes to the F word slur being used. And I banned about 4 people who was it? And it was the when David Seymour says all New Zealanders, he's talking about a small slice of privileged people attempting to move Indigenous ideas to the sidelines so they can become as rich as possible. That one there. That got like up to nearly 8,000 views. That got some of the most vile. Like, I was surprised. There's always revolting things on Twitter, right, but some of the things on there were the most vile I have ever seen. You know, abusing us.
Tired.
It was just very, and I was surprised because actually what that commentary was based on what someone said at the Hikoi. That was a clip we played, and of course, evidence that none of these losers actually watched the clip was they aimed all that opinion straight at you and me, Chewy. It's like, well, actually, it wasn't our position; it was the position of the video we watched. But yeah, anyway, I've tangented a bit. Where did we come from, Chewy? I've lost myself.
Where did we go? Where did we go to Cotton Eye Joe? Hey, slight pivot here, but I want to sort of circle back to
just before you pivot, because we do have another clip from the working group. So are we pivoting now or after that one?
No, let's pivot after.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just have a look at this last clip as well, because this was when they were talking about the Waitangi Tribunal and talking about how it works, how it operates, and especially Richard Prebble.
We must move on to issue 2. The Waitangi Tribunal 40 King's Council's Dame Jenny Shipley and former Attorney General Chris Finlayson have all heavily criticised this bill, which has provoked an extraordinary attack on them all by David Seymour. Willie, the Waitangi Tribunal have said, and I quote, if this bill were to be enacted, it would be the worst, most comprehensive breach of the treaty in modern times. If the bill remained on the statute book for a considerable time or was never repealed, it could mean the end of the treaty. Those are deeply concerning comments. David Seymour has simply shrugged them off. Who's right?
No, but that's David. That's what David and Damian do, right? They just like, who are they? You know, well, what do they know? David Seymour knows more than everyone because, you know, I'm running the Atlas agenda, right? So I know more than every judge, every lawyer, every prime minister,
the foreshore and CBA bill was more extreme than this. It stopped them going to court.
Of treaty settlements. It's just a huge arrogance. This is what's infuriating Māori and people around the country, is that this guy's arrogance. He just, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what's proven. I don't care what the legal precedents are. I know more. And then you get these guys like Damian Grant go, oh, it's a fair question. And
this is exactly what we're saying. This is the Trumpian thing. This one singular individual. Remember, we still don't know who are the people he's been consulting with. We still don't know who the experts that he's been working with. We don't know the history. Nothing. We've got this one individual person, as Willie's saying, is better and smarter and knows more than all of those others that have come before.
I know more. And then you get these guys like Damian Grant go, oh, it's a fair question. It's a fair question, but it's just disgusting the way he's getting away with stuff. And he gets away with it by being all nice and reasonable and putting on his control.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Willie, you do need to get a different angle next time we're on the working group, because this angle is doing you no favours. And the blurry background on the bald head, it does sometimes give you a divot in your head as well. Just a little piece of advice from someone with camera presence.
Contrived speak. You know, I can't wait, actually. I'm ready to debate him, because I said to Julian Wilcox, don't debate reasonably with this guy, because he starts asking you questions. You know, you got to go for the jugular on him, because, you know, it's just lie after lie after lie that this guy spouts about the treaty. And what he wants to do, guys, is remove Article 2. That's what he wants to do, which is about tino ranga.
He told me on Monday he wants to remove Māori getting. He wants to remove actually Māori being consulted and having special status. That's what he told me on Monday on my program.
Yeah,
he wants them to not have any status at all.
Now, Duncan, 40 Kings Council, Duncan, 40 Kings Council, the Waitangi Tribunal, Dame Jenny Shipley, former Attorney General Chris Finlayson, the Crown's own lawyers, and every single civil society organisation, except the Taxpayers Union, are all saying David's bill is wrong and will cause massive civil disorder. Yet David says he's right, and they're all wrong. Do we have a race relations problem, or do we have a David Seymour is the problem?
No, I think Seymour's going to say this because he's on his own in the corner and he's having to fight this corner. What does Richard Prebble say is what I'm interested in. He's the newly appointed member of the Waitangi Tribunal. Well, no, but he is though, isn't he? He's been appointed. And Willie, I know your reaction to Preb's appointment there, but he's a fully fledged member of this tribunal. He'll be keeping his head down, of course. The former ACT leader is now on that panel. I want to know what he thinks.
Damien, is
it a fair question?
Sorry, can I just say,
yes.
Prebble did want to get rid of the tribunal.
He does.
Okay?
Yes.
So they want to go back, and he wanted to finish treaty.
And these guys appointed him. Tama Potaka appointed him. Can you believe it?
Settlements 20 years ago. Don't get me wrong. I have no resentment or hatred to Prebs. He's a bit of a guy. I used to get on very well with him. Maybe I probably won't anymore because I've really opposed his appointment. But we know his history, Duncan.
Damien.
There you go. So there you go, Chewy. That's the clip from the working group. And again, I mean, one of the things that's happened since COVID, unfortunately, is, the experts say, when you're talking about scientists and historians, it's actually they are experts. Who are you going to get your brain surgery with? Oh, look at that brain surgeon. He says he's the expert. It's like, it's no different.
The arrogance of the surgeon.
The arrogance of the man thinking he's the best brain surgeon in New Zealand. Oh, what arrogance of the man.